The Member of Parliament for Tall Pines, Leslie Miller, is taking issue with one of the local radio stations. In fact, he's called for the station to be shut down.
According to Mr. Miller, the radio station he's referring to is not following the broadcast rules set out by IRCA, which he's accused of inaction.
I heard it with my own ears. The lady said the first person that they probably could call into my show, they could say Lyndon Penland, the little one who sell the bridge. They could say he's the first hero. She said, well, I can't hit him too hard today because some of the Bahamian women pants get wet when I hit him. I heard that, me. I heard that. Where the hell is Oika?
It ain't right, Lord. It ain't right.
Oika, the other day, a couple of years ago, tried to close down 2 radio stations for some infraction. They have said nothing, not a word about these 2 matters. Not a single word. I'm telling you what, I heard it myself. We have every right to stop it. You ask them to stop putting filth on the airwaves or close them down.
June 20th, 2000 is a date West End and Bimini Member of Parliament Obie Wilshcombe says he'll never forget. He entered the grounds of Her Majesty's prison to begin a 4-day sentence after he was found in contempt of court for refusing to reveal a source. Now, Mr. Wilshcombe gave parliamentarians a first-hand account of life in prison as debate continued on the corrections bill. He underscored the need for society to be more accepting of prisoners who may have served their time.
When does the process of preparation begin to get you out of prison? When do you understand that having a prison or correctional institute is fundamental as an extension of a society for people to be punished for crimes that they commit? What happens subsequently, Mr. Speaker? We have high levels of recidivism, and the reason is very simple. Once you've served time, you're a prisoner for life, and all over this town, you see young men coming looking for opportunities, and they don't get the opportunity because he has a police record. I have a view, sir, and that is this, that once you've served the time, you're all right, you done serve your time.
Parliamentarians continue debate on the second reading and committal of the Correctional Services Bill 2013 in the House of Assembly today. Debate got started last Wednesday, and Carla Palmer reports that apart from updating the Prison Act, which is more than 70 years old, this new bill also seeks to improve the operations and conditions at the facilities.
As the government attempts to further upgrade Her Majesty's prison in Fox Hill, Member of Parliament for Tall Pines, Mr. Leslie Miller, is advising that the prison not be transformed into a hotel. While prisoners ought to be treated humanely, he says prison was not meant to be a picnic, but just what it was intended to be, a prison, and supports the government's proposed plan of a furlough program, where convicts work while in prison, but says the money be redirected to their victims.
One has to also think about the person who would have been killed or maimed, who is unable now to work for themselves. Their children deserves a fair shake at life. You're in Fox Hill Prison, whatever penny you make should go towards assisting those children. They're waking up every morning, taking showers, and going to sleep. Those who they would have murdered, Mr. Speaker, could never wake up again. They go to jail for 7 years, and they come out. You ever seen a man walk in the graveyard after 7 years?
While he supports the bill, opposition Member of Parliament for Montague, Mr. Richard Lightburn, says apart from the proposed name change from Her Majesty's prison to the Bahamas Correctional Facilities and 1 or 2 other points, he says the bill is nothing revolutionary, nor is it some major plan of good governance.
I mean, if this is all they could come up with, no wonder the country's in the state that it is in today.
MP for North Abaco, Mr. Renato Curry, does not believe everyone in prison convicted of a crime is guilty. Nonetheless, he wants the government to focus on recidivism as well and address the social ills in the country.
Unfortunately, society has a belief that offenders cannot be rehabilitated. That's what the society feels, that can they really be rehabilitated? But I say this, Mr. Speaker, because the church has a different view. There are people who know God and understand what God did in their life, how they were wretched, how some of them were thieves, murderers. Where else can you find a transformation like that?
The debate on the Correctional Services Bill continues. I'm Carla Palmer for ZNS Network News.
The sentencing hearing for convicted murderers Stephen Dye Stubbs, Clinton Evans, and Andrew Davis was put off once again today, but this time due to a number of issues raised by the defense regarding the death penalty, which Crown prosecutors are seeking for the convicts. Our Fern Carey has more.
Tensions rose during the sentencing hearing for convicted murderers Stephen Dye Stubbs, Andrew Davis, and Clinton Evans Wednesday as their attorneys, Muriel DeSeal, Ramona Farquharson Seymour, and Ian Cargill argued vigorously against the court imposing the death penalty. Crown prosecutors are asking the court to sentence Stubbs, Davis, and Evans to death for killing Police Constable Jimmy Ambrose back in 1999. However, during today's proceedings before Justice Roy Jones, the defense attorneys all argued that the death sentence should not even be considered because Crown prosecutors did not follow established guidelines. That includes informing the court and the convicts on the day they are convicted that they are seeking the death penalty, something the defense lawyers claim the Crown did not do. Attorney Ian Cargill also accused the Crown of attempting to, quote, ambush these three men with a death penalty, end quote. In response, Director of Public Prosecutions Vanette Graham-Allen noted that the Crown fully complied with the statutory guidelines and also fulfilled the notice requirement by filing new information which sets out the provisions for the death penalty. She also indicated that due to legislation passed in 2011, the Crown has to state the basis under which it is seeking the death penalty for murder. She also noted that the defendants had notice of the Crown's intention when the indictment was filed. Graham-Allen further noted that the Crown requested psychiatric reports for the convicts, which he said is a requirement when the death penalty is being sought. However, DeSeal noted, among other things, that a psychiatric report is also requested in cases other than murder, and he questioned why the Crown should have a say in the sentencing hearing in the first place. However, Graham-Allen responded that the Crown now has a voice in the proceedings due to amendments to the law. Ramona Farquharson Seymour also suggested that the death penalty should not be considered, noting that the case is not the worst of the worst or the rarest of the rare. In the end, the court adjourned the matter to tomorrow at 11 a.m. when it will rule on those submissions. This is the second time that the sentencing hearing has been adjourned. Fern Carey, Zns Network News.
Jury selection took place today in the Andre Berbal unlawful sex trial. The former 8 Mile Rock High School teacher is accused of having unnatural sex with 2 of his underage male students on Grand Bahama 13 years ago. Yesterday, the 50-year-old Trinidadian lost his bid to have the trial put on hold when the court ruled against him after he filed a constitutional motion. This is the second time Berbal is being tried for the offenses. Attorney Ramona Farquharson Seymour is defending him. Darrell Taylor and Aaron Johnson are appearing on behalf of the Crown. Justice Roy Jones is hearing the case.
Still to come, 2 softball champions crowned last night. We've got the highlights.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Karissma Robinson. Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis officially opened the Nassau Conference at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel this morning. The Nassau Conference is an annual professional development conference presented by the Association of International Banks and Trust Companies in the Bahamas, with the Ministry of Financial Services as the lead sponsor. Financial Services Minister Ryan Pinder also delivered remarks at today's conference, indicating that the government is committed to working closely with the international agencies to shape a sensible approach for ensuring tax compliance while respecting credibility and diversity of industry. Financial Secretary at the Ministry of Finance John Roll recently met with over 70 members of the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association to provide an overview of how value-added tax would work and address some of the questions and concerns raised by tourism industry stakeholders. Mr. Roll is hopeful that the draft legislation with the revised duty schedules and supporting information would be available to the public within the next several weeks. And in international business news, Republican and Democratic leaders of the U.S. Senate struck a cross-party deal to end a partial government shutdown and raise the U.S. debt limit. The bill extends the federal borrowing limit until February 7th and funds the government to January 15th. This comes just a day before the deadline to raise the $16.7 trillion limit. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Karissma Robinson.